It was different, you know what I'm saying? Like, this man, he's 50 and over, you know, like, you 2 and 0, he's 50 and over. Like, we got no one where you like, well, damn, this shit different.
Once I got in there, everybody started hitting on the mask. Like, they call it the doghouse. That just triggered, like, something in my head, like, just a competitive instinct in my head. It was like, oh, it's on now. We went, like, 5-7 minutes, 1 round. So I get out the ring. He look out the ring, he say, you all right for a bitch? And I ain't heard him at first. I said, what? I said, man, you got me messed up. I said, man, push that shit back on. I said, matter of fact, turn out the clock. I said, we can go to somebody drop. And then we get in there and spar for like 8-9 more minutes. We get in there and spar. And then he was like, all right, that's enough. I think
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So what you heard was the voice of undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol the Truth Spence Jr., who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Errol Spence Jr., 27 wins, no losses, no draw, 21 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Errol Spence clarifies and explains what took place in that famous sparring session, that epic sparring session with legendary retired, now Hall of Fame iconic superstar boxer Floyd Money Mayweather Jr., okay? And so Errol Spence, he finally reveals what actually took place in that sparring session with Floyd Mayweather Jr. And Errol Spence, he reveals that he was 2-0 going into his 3rd fight. And Floyd Mayweather, he was preparing for that showdown with Robert the Ghost Guerrero. So you got to keep in mind, Errol Spence Jr. is a southpaw. Robert Ghost Guerrero, he's a southpaw as well, okay? Robert Guerrero, he was like 37 wins with 1 loss at that point in time in his career when that took place between himself and Robert Guerrero. So Robert Guerrero, you know, he was that guy at one point in time, okay? He was 31 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. This was back in 2013, okay? So back in 2013, you know, Errol Spence was a young man at that point in time back in 2013. You got to say that was almost 10 years ago. Errol Spence is 32, so he was about 23 years old at that point in time, okay? So he was a young man back in 2013. And so with that said, Errol Spence, he stated that, you know, it was the normal doghouse rules, okay? And Errol Spence, he stated that, you know, he started his career in 2012, okay? Keep in mind, so in 2013, you know, he had only had 2 fights, 3 fights at that point in time. So he was a young man. And so Errol Spence, he was helping prepare Floyd Mayweather for Robert the Ghost Guerrero, who's a southpaw as well. And Robert Guerrero is pretty tall welterweight as well, okay? And so Errol Spence, he's known for giving Floyd Mayweather a black eye in that sparring session, and we know that Floyd Mayweather Sr., he's admitted that he put Errol Spence out the gym because Floyd Mayweather had a big fight coming up, and this wasn't, you know, a situation where it called for, you know, for them to actually get all the way physical. We know a sparring, you're supposed to help prepare, but Floyd Mayweather, he don't go by those rules. We know Floyd Mayweather in the gym in the sparring session, he got the doghouse rules, okay? And so Errol Spence, he explained that once he got in the ring, you know, Floyd Mayweather at that point in time, you know, he was well established. He was already a Hall of Famer, okay? He was obviously undefeated. As Floyd Mayweather, he finished his career undefeated, okay, 50-0. So at that time when he beat Robert the Ghost Guerrero, you know, he still was in his absolute prime, okay? You got to look at Floyd Mayweather at that point in time. Floyd Mayweather was already 43 wins with no losses, okay? So he was well established, okay? He was already a surefire 4-division world champion, Hall of Famer, okay? And he was, you talking about in 2013. So Floyd Mayweather, 10 years ago, he was only at about 35. You know, this is before he beat Canelo Alvarez when he was 36 years old, okay? So he was 35. He was still in his prime. So for Errol Spence to have the success he had, you know, that made a name for Errol Spence, okay? That's where the legend of Errol Spence, it truly took off, and everybody started to say, who is this dude, Errol Spence, that black Floyd Mayweather eyes? Floyd Mayweather Sr. stated that, you know, it got physical. He put Errol Spence out the gym, but Floyd Mayweather told him to come back. And so Errol Spence Jr., he just explains, and he says that, well, Floyd Mayweather told him, once he got out the ring, they did the normal, you know, Floyd Mayweather 6-minute round, so on and so forth. And he said he calmed out the ring. And Floyd Mayweather, he leaned over and he told him, oh, you okay for you know, I'm a paraphrase. You understand? For that snitch. You understand what I'm saying? The ditch, right? So, Floyd Mayweather, so Errol Spence, being the dog he is, he said that at first he didn't hear, it didn't resonate with him. Until it resonated, he stayed to his, wait a minute. What you just say? So then at that point in time, Errol Spence like, man, put it back on, man. Let's put the equipment back on and let's go back to work. And then that's where the epic black eye came in. So he said that we worked some more rounds. We got it in. So this is something that everybody has been inquiring about. Everybody's interested to know what happened. Everybody is like, did Floyd Mayweather actually lose to Errol Spence Jr.? Right? Because we see Errol Spence today, he's established. Errol Spence, he just got a day named after him in Dallas, Texas. You understand what I'm saying? Arlington, Texas, okay? The mayor of Dallas just named April 16th Errol the Truth Spence Jr. Day. Okay, so he just got a day named after him. He's the unified champion. He's going into a massive unification bout. He holds the WBC and the IBF, and now he's going into a showdown with the WBA, World Boxing Association, welterweight world champion, Cuban star boxer, YORDENIS UGAS, who has a record of 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws. Okay, 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'9" with a 70-inch arm reach, 69-inch arm reach, okay? So Errol Spence, he's going into a showdown with YORDENIS UGAS for 3 belts. Errol Spence is one of the biggest pay-per-view stars there is today, okay? Errol Spence, he sold out AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, okay? Errol Spence back in 2020, excuse me, he did the biggest gate out of anybody. That include 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer who's currently the undisputed super middleweight in Saul Canelo Alvarez. And that also includes undefeated 3-division world champion superstar boxer Gervonta Tank Davis, okay? He outdid all of them, okay? He did the biggest gate. He did the biggest gate out of anybody in 2020. So the superstar and the myth of Errol Spence, it just continues to grow. It just continues to grow. And so he's lateral moving from strap season to the truth to now he's the big fish. He's the big fish, okay? And so Errol Spence, he got a massive fight on his hands with YORDENIS UGAS, and then he got an even bigger fight following that up with Terrence Bud Crawford, his biggest rival, okay? So Errol Spence is slowly becoming the face of the sport of boxing. And so when you have the past face of the sport of boxing, which many people would still consider to be the face of the sport of boxing in today's time, and Floyd Mayweather, if Floyd Mayweather was to come back, he would still do massive pay-per-view numbers, okay? And so when you have the myth and you have these rumors and you have these reports behind the scenes as to what actually happened, and this is, you know, you got former world champion Mickey Bay, who witnessed this sparring session. And Mickey Bay, he said, well, that's when the legend of Errol Spence and the Truth Monitor actually truly took off. Now, there's many people that say Errol Spence, the Truth Monitor, the name was already established, but that's when it really, really took off. Okay, when people really started to take notice and say, woo, this kid there's the truth. He done gave the pound for pound king, arguably TBE, the best to ever do it, arguably the GOAT, GOAT, greatest of all time. He gave him work in sparring session. Now we know the legend that has it, that Paul Spadafara, another former boxer, right? He gave Floyd Mayweather all types of fits in sparring, right? And that's how most people, if you Google Paul Spadafara name right now, the first thing that's going to come up is his alleged sparring sessions with Floyd Mayweather, where he used to work Floyd Mayweather, that got Floyd Mayweather, as people would say, not wanting to fight him as a professional. So, you know, sparring doesn't always count. It don't always translate to under the lights, as we know, right? But sparring makes names. It makes names, okay? And so with that said, the myth of Errol Spence, it grew. You understand? He became Bigfoot. He became a giant. Why? Because he took on what was considered the best fighter, the pound for pound, the face of the sport of boxing, that nobody could touch, couldn't even lay a hand on. Can't even be touched, can't even be stopped. You know, you couldn't even put a hand on Floyd Mayweather, greatest defensive fighter that ever lived. And then he said, this kid at 23 years of age with only 3 fights walked into the gym and blackened his eye, blackened Floyd Mayweather's eye. Wow. So this is a testament to that sparring session, but it's also a testament to what Errol Spence has become. So everybody saw what Floyd Mayweather saw when Floyd Mayweather told him, hey, you pretty good for a itch. And Errol Spence said, hey, hold on. And he got in there and did it again. And so Errol Spence said that Floyd Mayweather then looked at him when it was all said and done. And Floyd Mayweather said, that's enough. And Floyd Mayweather told him, this kid gonna be great. It don't matter who I am. He gonna stand on his square. And from that day forward, you can see Errol Spence is a man of his word. And he does what he says. When he suffered that horrific car accident, after unifying the belt September of 2019 against two-time welterweight world champion Showtime Sean Porter, he had a 14-month layoff, said that he wasn't coming back for no tune-ups. He only wanted to fight the best. And what did he do? He fought two-division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia against many people advisories. And now, what did he do? After suffering a broken or detached retina, what did Errol Spence do? Errol Spence is going into a unification bout with Yordenis UGAS. That speaks volumes. So let's see how this unfolds. Saturday, April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T, Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Errol the True Spence Jr. versus Yordenis UGAS unification bout. Let's see how this unfolds. That's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.